went through, like at that point I had went back to community college. I went to UK, I was pretty consistent. And then I ended up at Eastern in their nursing program and realized I didn't want to pursue nursing anymore. I had to pivot because I was 3.5 hours away from home. It was the middle of the semester. And I knew I didn't want to go back home. I knew that for me, when I start something, not finishing it is not an option for me. So I was in college. I knew I wanted to, finish. I knew I loved the healthcare field, but I knew nursing was not it for me. So Eastern offers a health tourism.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Career Education Learning Center podcast. I'm your host, Mitchell Rivers. I am thrilled and elated to have today Kentiana McClain. Miss McClain is a licensed master social worker. How are you doing today, Miss McClain?
I'm doing well, Mr. Rivers.
And thank you so much for coming on our show today.
Absolutely. It's an honor. I'm glad to be here.
Well, let's get to know Miss McClain here. Miss McClain, tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey to your current career path.
Sure. So I am born and raised Hopkinsville, Kentucky. When I graduated from high school, I was destined, as I thought, to be a nurse. So from 2013 till 2016, I think, I heavily pursued nursing until I was accepted into Eastern Kentucky University's nursing program. And I did a semester and realized that it was not at all what I wanted to do. So needless to say, I was devastated because I had worked really hard, nursing, my prerequisites for nursing and, all of those things. I had, went through, at that point I had went back to community college. I went to UK, I was pretty consistent. And then I ended up at Eastern in their nursing program and realized I didn't want to pursue nursing anymore. I had to pivot because I was 3.5 hours away from home. It was the middle of the semester. And I knew I didn't want to go back home. I knew that for me, when I start something, not finishing it is not an option for me. So I was in college. I knew I wanted to, finish. I knew I loved the healthcare field, but I knew nursing was not it for me. So Eastern offers a health tourism administration program. That is something that, I had found out about, for myself. Unfortunately, I didn't come from a family, or my parents didn't go to college. So I didn't really have, people I could reach out to, and my family, things like that. And ask them for direction and advice. So, I pursued health service administration, loved it, probably got a semester out from graduating and realized that, I wanted more. I love the healthcare side, the administrative side of it, but I was lacking the engagement, patients and clients and things like that. So I ended up switching health service administration to my minor, and then I did my major in just a general studies so I could give myself more time in school to take more classes. So I ended up taking a drugs and society class. And I was so interested in that. Never thought that I would be. I was just so interested in that. And I remember a woman that she was the program director at a long-term residential facility in Richmond at the time for women in recovery, came and talked to our class. And she had bought an individual that was in recovery, and they shared about their story. And I just remembered the feeling that I had in my body. I'm a spiritual woman. And I remember like when I realized I didn't want to do nursing, like I was praying and I was crying. And I was just like, God, I just want to, do what you want me to do. And like, I don't want to waste time. And, I just want to know, like, like when I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And it just seemed like in that moment while they were like talking, I was in that class, that I just like got that confirmation. Like I felt it. So I ended up working for that facility in Richmond, which I was able to network with a lot of people, licensed clinical, like practical nurses, sorry, not nurses, but counselors, like professional counselors, recovery supports, like things like all of that. So I'm a very research person. I love to research things and just like do my own homework on things, and like you kind of see what's out there, like I said, because growing up, my parents didn't, go to college, so they weren't really able, to guide and direct me in life in regards to like career. So I did research and I found, about like, counseling, and I was like, I feel like this is something I would really love to do. And by that time I had finished my undergraduate degree. I graduated with a bachelor's in public health and a minor in health service administration. And I was riding the fence in regards to, if it was like 100% counseling that I wanted to do. Because at some point, like while I was at that job, someone had told me about social work. And I was one of those people that always thought social work was, working with kids, taking people's kids away. I was like, I don't want to do that. I was encouraged to do my research, to figure out more about what the, field had to offer. So I did. And I took a year off after I graduated from my undergrad, to just like do, like I said, research and comparing, going the absolute like counseling route versus, social work. And I absolutely loved like what I discovered about social work. Social work is such a broad
It is broad, yes.
I mean, you can work with children, you can work with, geriatric. I mean, you can work mental health. Like, I mean, there is such a humongous umbrella with social work. You can work in politics. You can work in, like more direct care. Like, I mean, and I knew for me, when I was pursuing my master's degree, I was like, I'm only doing this one time. I am not going back for a third. I was like, I need something. I do for one girl, like anything that I can get, 2 for the price of 1, or like, a 3-in-1 or whatever, like I'm going to pursue that. So that for me, when I was, learning about social work and the fact that, I could do counseling, I could do clinical, like in that. And then also, knowing after a certain point if I wanted to pivot and do something else, because I'm the type of person, I learn things pretty quickly, and, I'm always wanting to grow and expand like my knowledge and, my skill set. So I was like, I could do, like therapy for a while, and then, maybe in like 10 years, wherever my mind changes, sometimes with the wind and my interests, like, I could pivot out of that and, do politics and, so I was really appreciative, that social work allowed that for me. And for me, that was the selling point. So after taking off a year, I went to the University of Kentucky for my master's program. I did an online program through them. It was a 2-year program. And in that 2 years, and while getting my master's in social work degree, I also got a certificate in substance use disorder and clinical social work. So I got 2 additional certificates in addition to just like my, master's degree. I absolutely loved it. That's why, learned about all the therapeutic modalities. And, I was really able at that point, to research like more and like get more involved in community organizations, seeing like, like what other, organizations like, like nationally, like I can get involved in social work. UK offered like a host of opportunities for social work. There was a mentor program that I was able to take advantage of, where I was assigned a mentor who is, a professional in the field. So like we would meet regularly, and, they would just give me a lot of just like, like insight and support and direction, in the field, and, things to take, to look into, and, things that, like they wish they would have done that they, didn't, but, encouraged me to do. So I absolutely appreciated that, for sure. And then I graduated with my degree May of last year. And I've
That's
been
great.
working in Tennessee. Thank you. I've been working in Tennessee at Vanderbilt Psychiatric Hospital. They offer a 2-year fellowship program.
Oh, okay, great.
It's been phenomenal for my development and my clinical skills because my next goal is to become a licensed clinical social worker where I'm able to practice independently, and I would be like my own, standing, essentially just like an entity, but I would be, like licensed, so that is where I'm working towards. This fellowship allows me to do that because I'll be doing rotations throughout their program and their mental health. So inpatient, outpatient, working with, like mood disorders, working with children. I mean, it is a very well-rounded program that I've been very much enjoying, and definitely have confidence that, it will shape me in being that, clinical social worker that I want to be, for sure.
Yeah, that is a you said really a lot of good knowledge there with us, because one is that I try to tell students, high school or college students, you may pivot. I mean, I think when I went to school, I think the counselor told me, like, at the first semester, 40% of the freshmen change majors, right? We think we want to go into one major and then go into another major. And then, as you stated earlier, social work or social services is broad. That is a broad major, right? As many careers in which one can seek if they want to go into that order. Most people think that if I go into social work, it's only working with kids, adolescents, and this and that, as you said before. But once you did your research, which we all have to learn to do our research, then you find that there's a whole array of different occupations within that industry, right?
Yeah.
And so that is something I think is fantastic. What do you enjoy most about that? I mean, like you said before, it's good that you did pivot, because you seem to really have a passion for helping people and being in this type of work as far as social work and helping people. What do you enjoy most about this?
It definitely is. I'm a very, people oriented person. So I really do enjoy working directly with people. I also enjoy, connecting with my community, learning about like resources, organizations and things, that I can bring to clients that I'm working with, to kind of support them, where they're at and getting to where they want to be. So I definitely love, that direct engagement with, the clients that I'm working with, but also being able to, integrate myself into like, my community organizations, and really learning about them as well. And then, being able to like make the connections, for the people that I work with. I also love that it's always growing, and the knowledge is always there. So with my master's degree and for the rest of my career, like I'll be required to do continuing education. So, I mean, it's where, I have to, do like certain workshops or trainings and things like that, where to make sure that I continue to stay, up to date, and knowledgeable about, the different, like skills and the changes and, things in the field, evidence-based practices, best ways to, support and work with clients that I work with. So, and I appreciate that because, like I said, I love learning. I love, like growing and evolving, like professionally and my skill set. So knowing that, with my degree, like I'm going to be required to do that. I mean, I really enjoy that. I really do.
Did taking that year off help you kind of like get more focused before you went to your master's? How much did that help? Because I keep trying to tell students, if you take a year off or if you have to take some time off for yourself, how much did that re-energize you and get you more focused?
I tell people it was the best thing I could have done because I didn't want to feel like I rushed into it just for the sake of, people say, when you finish, you should go straight into, getting your master's degree, or you won't go back. And that was definitely something that was in the back of my head. But then again, like I knew for me, like when I pursue my master's, I don't want to go back for another one. So feeling like, it was, like the absolute best thing for me, to make sure I did my research, that I made that I felt 100% confident, in the decision that I was going with. Because obviously with undergrad, I thought I wanted to go with nursing. And then, I had that huge, blow up in the middle of pursuing my degree. So, I just remembered, how stressful that was for me, that, I felt like, I didn't give myself enough time going into college. It was just a thing of being like, nursing, it makes you money, helps you work with, like you're allowed to work with like people and helping people. Cool, fine, let's just do it. Right. And I definitely feel like if I would have taken more time, I did do 2 years, at community college before I went off to college. But again, I was very much just, so focused in like wanting to pursue nursing that I didn't allow myself, to like be open to like what else. I definitely feel like if I would have been more attentive in that 2 years at the community college, that I would have, definitely been like, I would have done a different route. So, knowing that I got that second chance when I graduated with my undergrad before going into my master's, I think it was, like I said, the best thing, because it allowed me, to ask people that were social workers, ask people that were, counselors, like what do you, what would you suggest, what do you enjoy about this, if you could go back and, and, do things over again, like, like, would you? And I got so much feedback from people, like licensed professional counselors that was like, I wish I would have done social work. I wish I would have taken more time, to, educate myself on what that field, could offer me, because, for some of them, they felt like they were limited. For some of them, they was just like, I know I've always wanted to do counseling and I didn't want to do more than that. So, this was the best fit for me. So definitely allowing my time, to like do my own research, reading literature and things like that. And then, like actually integrating myself, into places with those professionals and be able to just like ask them directly, definitely was extremely helpful for making my decision. And that's why when I went into, the master's program, I was 100% confident. I was 100% set and knew, like what it was that I wanted and what I was working towards in the field. So yes, I 1,000% am an advocate for, take a year off, to decide, because after you graduate from college, I mean, like, obviously, like, things are different, like where you are as a person, like your interests may change.
Yes.
Like, like if you're going to, change, like, geographical locations, like, or whatever. So not feeling like, you have to be rushed. Because I also feel like, if you're doing something that you sincerely love and that's a passion, like, you will pursue it. So, taking a year off is not going to, keep you from obviously, like, like life and things happen, but it's just like, if it's something that you generally want to do and you value, that career path and that work itself, you're going to allow yourself to pursue that, because again, like, you're just drawn to it.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that you mentioned was community college. I also went to community college. And so I think, as you stated earlier, sometimes you don't know what you want to do. And you need like a little break in between there. And for a lot of students coming out of high school, I didn't really know what I want to do. I just said business, because 90 to 95% say, what do you want to major in? Business. You just say business, right? It just comes out business because you don't know nothing else, right? Or if you really passionate about something, you say, I want to go into pre-law because that's what you always wanted to be. But if you're kind of confused, like most teenagers are when you come out of high school, then, you can take a year off, work. And I guarantee you, after you get through working for that 1 year, you would think about something that you want to do. And then community college is good for, I know students like me who quite wasn't ready to go to get a 4-year degree or go to a 4-year school. Then it gave me a chance to really learn and get that background. So that way, when I did transfer to UNC Pembroke, a 4-year school, then I was prepared. And I didn't have any doubts. Like I said, I really wanted it and I had a passion for it. And I did the work what it took in order to graduate. And so a lot of times I tell students, you're going to pivot, you're not going, you may even graduate and change something that you don't want to do, right? You might be like, oh, okay, this is what I thought I wanted to do, but it's not really what my heart into. And I think by you doing your research, and I hope Lawrence listens about this, is that by you doing your research helps a whole lot. You stress mentorship, you stress doing your research, you stress that talking to people and getting ideas and taking the things, the pros and cons of how they feel about life and what they did. And then you kind of conform your own ideas from there. Okay, this is the route I want to go. So that is very good knowledge and very good things to know for my audience is that, hey, do your research a lot of times. Ask people. Don't be afraid. If you want to go somewhere or you think about doing something, ask people in the community, ask people where you work at. And a lot of people, especially if they're my age, Ms. McClain, they're my age, they're going to know. They're going to tell you a lot of mistakes they made that they would not have done if they've known better if they would have asked someone. So be sure to ask people about that, Did you have a role model that you pattern to go into social work? I know you thought about nursing. Was there more role model in nursing, and that's why you want to go into nursing? Or that's just something you just felt like you want to do since you was maybe in high school?
No, I feel like, growing up, it was just like, this unspoken thing of, when you graduate from high school, going into field allows you to make money, right? So it's like, in certain households, that is, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be a nurse. Those are the fields that, allow you to make money. Yeah. So, like for me, knowing that, I like working with people and I want to make money. Nursing was just one of those just like automatic thoughts. Like, again, my parents were nurses. My parents, they both worked in factories, while I was growing up. And they weren't a nurse, and I was just like, nursing. So nice. Yeah. So again, and even looking back now, how there was that lack of, just that lack, I would say lack of interest, but just that lack of passion. And it's not something that I definitely feel like you can't force that. I definitely feel like, knowing yourself and knowing what your genuine values are, more than just, wanting to make money, what can you see yourself doing when you're 50? What is something that you want to pursue that, it wouldn't feel like work for you? Since for some people, it is nursing. Right. I wanted that, for myself, and I tried to force it. And I think that's why I had that, awareness, when I was in college, and I was literally sitting in class, in my nursing class. And I remember sitting in lecture, and I got up and I just walked out, because I was just in that moment, I realized I was like, I don't have the heart for this. I did not, have that passion and that connectedness to the work that I was doing. The thought of having to do that, until my retirement age, it didn't, excite me. It scared me, if anything, because I was just I'm trying to be a nurse, and I don't know if I would wake up every day and enjoy going in here, and doing a job, and patients don't deserve that. They deserve somebody, that is generally passionate and invested, in that work, because, nursing is very competitive, in, complex field. And if you, just don't naturally just have that connectedness, to it, not allowing yourself to force it, but then also normalizing that, there are other, career paths that you can go about, to still, meet those goals of, financial stability and, like employment security, all of those things. It's just the way in which, you explore those things, how you choose to pursue those things. And I appreciate that about social work, because it definitely has allowed me, to do those things. And I also get, the feeling of passion, connectedness from it. I go to my job, and I enjoy what I do. It doesn't feel like work for me. Yes, it is, it's taxing, because, I work with mental health, and, I see a lot of things. I see trauma and all of those things. But again, it doesn't feel like work to me, because I have found my passion. I have felt the values, in the work that social work allows. So, that is what, drives me more than just, the sake of, wanting to just make money.
Yes. And I think that's, I've had a previous guest, and even my mentor, we discussed about passion, going for that job that you really want, in the sense, or the occupation that you really want, and I was stating that I think if you have a passion for something, that you will be successful, because you're going to do whatever it takes to be successful within the occupation. But if you don't have a passion for it, and you're just going for the money, then eventually you're just going to end up quitting. You're going to end up not liking it. You're going to end up hating going to work every day, end up hating what you're doing, and eventually, like everybody else, you will quit. And so, there's a dichotomy there, or there's a kind of split thing there between making money or doing what you want to do, And I had previous guests that, especially in the music. And so if you coming out of high school and your parents look at you, and they're both school teachers, and you say you want to go to music, and they're like, music ain't gonna pay no money for you, or you want to go into art ain't gonna pay no money for you. But you need to say, well, you go be a computer science, or you go into technology, or you go be a business person again, and you're a lawyer, doctor, engineer. Then if you don't have the passion for that, eventually you're going to just quit.
Yeah.
And so there had to be a coming to meeting when you ask your parents, and I guess show them and have a plan to do your research on whatever field you want to go to. And there's a lot of occupations that people only narrow down. Well, if you're in the music, you can only be a band teacher or a music teacher. That's it. When there's plenty more fields within that. You go into social work. Well, you're going to either work with kids or you're going to do this mental health or drug treatment. That's it, And there's an array of occupations and jobs within that field. And so I advise my audience, my viewers and listeners, to research, as you said earlier. Research, see what you want to do, see what occupations, and talk to people. Probably the best thing about when you do research and you start talking to people, you learn a lot more even by talking to people. They will tell you the pros and cons. They will tell you the pros and cons of their occupation. Yeah. And then once you get all the information, research, talk to people, then you can come to your own conclusion and make your own mind up. Mm-hmm. And so I just think having you on the show today was just fantastic, because I've got a wealth of knowledge. I think my audience got a wealth of knowledge of doing research, being knowledgeable, knowing that you can pivot. If you're not ready to come out of school, get a 4-year degree, go to community college, go to technical school. Take your year off a couple of times. Because life, if you live life as far as the average man dies at 78, the average woman 83, then you're gonna live a long time. Okay, a long time to decide what you want to do. And so just take your time, and you eventually find it. Some people may not find it today, 25, 30, 35, but you eventually find it. And once you find your passion, what you want to do, and able to make a comfortable living, then I think you'll be successful in life in that way. Do you have any suggestions or comments or advice for young people who may want to go into social work?
Yeah, I definitely would encourage young people interested in social work, to take, all of the negative that you hear about the field, with a grain of salt. Because like I was mentioning, social work is a very broad and is a very promising and growing field. So you can start out, in one part of social work and, just through that and you being intentional about, educating yourself and connecting yourself, with, community organizations. I know that social work has, the National Association of Social Work. There's, like state chapters, that you can be involved in. Even like some like communities, for social workers, but definitely integrating yourself into places, with, people that are experienced, allowing yourself, to just be okay, just asking the questions, what do you enjoy about this? I'm early, and I'm thinking this is what I may want to be interested in, and allowing yourself just to be open and receptive, because, social work is not just, case management, working for DCS, or, working for nonprofits, where you're not going to be making any money. I definitely appreciate the work experience that I've been able to, have in social work, that I'm still, learning, every day, to the point, I'm feeling I want to go back for a doctorate in social work. You didn't even know there was a doctorate for social work. These are things, you don't learn about, you just hear the basic, surface level, the vague, stuff about the field. So, take what you hear, from, families. I know families, have a big impact on, how we choose to pursue, careers and things like that. But also allow yourself to, be open, to asking other people, not allowing yourself, to, be shy or reserved when it comes to, asking questions. You're not going to be judged. People are, not going to say, what did you ask me about that? And if anything, they're going to be willing, in my experience, they've been willing to share their knowledge. I really wish I would have done this, or I learned, after this that, this was an option, so. Yeah. not, don't allow yourself to, like be closed off, about the field. Do your research, allow, yourself, to go through the process. I've done many internships in this field that, again, like I'm grateful for, because I definitely don't feel like I would be where I am now, in my career, if I didn't, yes, they felt like tedious at the time, you had to start at the bottom, and work your way up. But again, like it definitely helped me build, that passion and that connectedness, also like, like learning, where can I go from this experience? How can I take this experience, into the next, place that I'm trying to go to in this field? So, just stay open, be intentional, get connected. You learn so much more, being connected, to other people and organizations, groups and things like that, versus, if you're just, sitting in a classroom. Because school, classrooms can only teach you so much. And so much of the knowledge and experience that I've been able to get has been, outside of the classroom, and taking on opportunities, showing up to workshops, things like that, on a Saturday. Because again, it's a thing of like, if I'm choosing to invest my time, and for me, I'm a person that time is very valuable to me. So if I'm choosing to invest my time, I am wanting to make sure it's invested wisely. And I know that, even if it's sacrificing, I'm having to get up and do this workshop, on a Saturday when I could rather, would rather be doing something else. I know that it's going to be doing something that is going to, propel me in my career. It's something, again, that is connected to what I'm passionate about and my values. I'm definitely going to be apt to do that. And, by doing that, again, you just open yourself up to so many more opportunities, so many other ways of networking that, again, can get you into places that you would have never known about, just from sitting in the classroom.
Well, thank you so much for the information there. And as you stressed in there, and we didn't go over as much because you've done so much work, and I knew you did internships. And I try to stress toward our students, especially college students, internships, can really help you and define whether you really want to go in that field or not. And then you may, with that internship, learn about other fields that you may be interested in. And so thank you for stressing internships. Thank you for stressing research. And thank you for a lot of good nuggets that we got from you. Thank you so much, Ms. McClain, for coming on my show. You've been a wealth of knowledge for me and my audience, and continue to do a good job. Continue to help out people. Continue to have that passion that you have for helping people, okay?
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
And I'd like to thank our viewers and listeners for joining me, Mitchell Rivers, on the Career Education Learning Center podcast, where we're making your career dreams a reality. God bless.